Government has given well over $15 billion to Ukraine in the last couple years. In the first 6 months of the authoritarian police state lockdowns, which was the antithesis of freedom, democracy, and liberty, 100,000 restaurants were forced closed. So do the math. If we gave that $15 billion of taxpayer money that they take from you and gave it to the restaurants that our authoritarian psychopaths shut down, that would be $150,000 per restaurant. I'm sure that would help kickstart and reopen many of them. But our Congress is rotten to its core, sending our money all over the place besides in your pockets, destroying businesses, destroying lives, closing gyms, closing beaches, closing sports, childhood obesity rising, telling you they're helping your health. Malcolm X nailed it. The media is the most powerful entity on earth. They have the power to make the innocent guilty and the guilty innocent, and that's power because they control the minds of the masses. They have the public under a spell, and they're crushing our own country and expecting you not to realize. What's going on, everybody? Hope you're having a beautiful day. I'm going to show that clip again because people are just coming in now, but I want to show you right here. I have the text, I have the proof. We've sent over the last couple of years, since 2014, we've sent way over $15 billion to Ukraine. I think over $13 billion recently, another 800. Biden's talking about another billion. They've doled at least $15 billion of your taxpayer dollars to Ukraine. Here's where it gets interesting. 100,000 plus restaurants in the first 6 months were pretty much destroyed because of the lockdown, Orwellian slave state, prison state restrictions that our government put on us. The virus didn't do this, our government did it. So with that money, I just did the math. I was like, how much could they have given to 100,000 restaurants that they helped to force closed? I was like, is it a small number where it wouldn't matter? Is it a big number? And once again, I did the math. You could do it yourself. That would equate to $150,000 for 100,000 USA restaurants. Why is that number important? Because that's how many roughly were destroyed by the pandemic, aka the government restrictions, in the first couple months. I want to play that clip again because I know a lot of people are just getting here now, and then I have a little presentation for you. I'm going to keep this one brief. I'm going to show you how Dave Portnoy, a CEO of Barstool Sports, he's done more for many businesses than a lot of the government has. And once again, guys, you got to think about this stuff. Well, you don't have to, but this is a little presentation I put. It's a viral tweet and, TikTok, Instagram reel going around right now. Check it out, and then we'll begin our stream. The United States Congress and government has given well over $15 billion to Ukraine in the last couple years. In the first 6 months of the authoritarian police state lockdowns, which was the antithesis of freedom, democracy, and liberty, 100,000 restaurants were forced closed. So do the math. If we gave that $15 billion of taxpayer money that they take from you and gave it to the restaurants that our authoritarian psychopaths shut down, that would be $150,000 per restaurant. I'm sure that would help kickstart and reopen many of them. But our Congress is rotten to its core, sending our money all over the place besides in your pockets, destroying businesses, destroying lives, closing gyms, closing beaches, closing sports, childhood obesity rising, telling you they're helping your health. Malcolm X nailed it. The media is the most powerful entity on earth. They have the power to make the innocent guilty and the guilty innocent, and that's power because they control the minds of the masses. They have the public under a spell, and they're crushing our own country and expecting you not to realize. $15 billion plus over the last couple years to a foreign country. Meanwhile, they bankrupted a lot of restaurants. That's $150,000 for each 100,000 restaurant that they destroyed. I'm sure they destroyed more. I just want to show you how brainwashed some people are, because obviously it's okay to feel pain. It's okay not to want war. It's okay to dislike Russia. It's okay to have foreign preferences. But I just want to show you how controlled people are, because like that meme I kind of showed, they can put a spotlight here and people will not know what's going on in their own country for themselves. I just want to show you, even though I disagree with the Gravel Institute because they're pretty much way more left-leaning than I am, I think they make a valid point here. Let's check it out. The Gravel Institute said 500,000 people have died in the Tigray war in Ethiopia in the last 16 months. How many times have you heard the media talk about it? And I was like, is that true? I mean, obviously I can't confirm it's true. I'm not there, but I did look up a report. And the Globe and Mail, I don't know how legit it is, but they did say researchers are saying that about 500,000 are dead from violence and starvation in the Tigray war. What is the Tigray war? I have no idea. You probably have no idea, because the media doesn't talk about it. But the Gravel Institute is trying to tell people you only care what you're programmed to care about. And this person, the first comment is hilarious with the Ukraine flag. He said, "Not now." Not now, Gravel Institute. I can't process the Tigray war right now. Don't tell me about a new thing to be outraged about, because I'm outraged about the thing that they told me to be outraged about. I can't let you say other things that are bad in the world now, because I don't. Not now. Not now, Gravel man. Please, no. Please do not shatter my worldview. I need the thing that they told me to be upset about now. And I'm not saying you can't be upset about what's going on in Russia, but that's just one example to show people how easy it is for the media to control the minds of the masses. You could have 500,000 people dead in a country you don't even know about, in a war you've never even heard about, but the second someone even brings it up, it like offends certain people. Like, it's their whole personality to ignore that type of stuff. Ignore, your own country, etc. And I want to show you somebody who did do something about the pandemic. His name was Dave Portnoy. I actually like him a lot. We're going to listen to him speak in a second, but, this was during the pandemic for the restaurants. It said, love him or hate him, Dave Portnoy saving American small businesses with his Barstool fund. He raised, in a short period of time, $18 million and counting, probably way more than that. And he saved 79 plus small businesses, probably much more than that as it came down. And I want you to listen to his speech, because he said politicians are stealing the basic right to earn a living. Okay, I gotta do this rant. I've done it a bunch. I can't believe it. I have to do it again. But New York City just closed indoor dining. My hair is fucking big. New York City just closed indoor dining. What do they think is going to happen? What do they think is going to happen to the thousands of restaurants, the bar? They're done. He's obviously older, but the bar and restaurant industry and small business have been squeezed and squeezed and squeezed. And they've tried everything. They've been as creative as possible. You get the outdoor dining, these structures they've had to build on their own dime. You have the glass in between the masks. You've had the 6 feet of separation, fewer tables. They've been as creative as you can be to save their livelihoods, to save what they've spent decades of blood, sweat, and tears building. They've done whatever. They've scratched and clawed. And now a few politicians in New York City's like, you're done. We're shutting it down. No indoor dining. How do you expect these people to survive? What are people going to go out to dinner now in ice cold temperatures? It's insanity. And this isn't about corona or how dangerous and the hospitals and rising. It's not.
Is trying to bait the trap so that we go in, and that's the beginning.
This is who we got running.
Weapons that are not allowed under the Geneva Convention. Putin, who threatens use of MiGs, which are the kinds of planes they've been trained on. MiGs, which are the kinds of planes.
Yeah, just ignore the fact that they wiped out 100,000 restaurants. Ignore the fact that they closed down sports, gyms, beaches. Childhood obesity is rising. We have a massive problem in this country: heart disease, diabetes. It's not all natural and genetic. A lot of it's diet, health, etc., which they sabotaged during 2020. But now I have to put a flag in my profile picture from the same people who told me to put a black square when they fundraised off of a crisis and, let half the country burn down. Not literally half. They're going to fact check that. It wasn't half. It was under 1%. I get it. It's like people don't even think twice. Why should I want $15 billion of taxpayer money going to a foreign country when they could give $150,000 to 100,000 restaurants that didn't go out of business naturally? It wasn't organically. They didn't fail as a company. The federal government, the state governments, the corporate oligarchs turned to people and said, you can't open, or else we're going to turn into some sort of Orwellian police state and shut you down. Speaking of 1984 and George Orwell, does this look familiar to you guys? Did anybody notice the symbolism here? That's our Congress just slobbering over this guy, sending your money overseas. Wow, it looks just like the movie 1984. Freedom is slavery. War is peace, folks. War is peace. We need peace by starting wars. The only way to, fight the war is to start a war. It's like, we're going to ignore our role in it, just keep giving money to another guy. It's like, I don't want to give a single dime to Ukraine. I'm sorry. I don't hate Ukraine. I don't love Russia. I watched our government, our system, our disgusting authoritarian police state system destroy the lives of tens of millions of people, kick millions of people out of their job, bankrupt hundreds of thousands of businesses, and now they're taking the money that they steal from us every year that Biden wants to take more and more and more and more and send it to a foreign country in a conflict that they're not even telling you the truth about. Is Russia innocent? Of course not. Is Ukraine innocent? Of course not. Far from it. Is America innocent? Of course not. We've been working with them since 2014. We've been sending money and weapons and care packages right next to one of our, adversaries. I mean, we helped start this war, whether they admit it or not. Definitely Putin took a larger step, but we've taken 50,000 steps since, the 1990s. They're not telling you the truth about it, but now they're going to convince you that you need to send your money overseas when there's people starving on the streets, or rather homeless on the streets with mental and drug issues, etc., in Los Angeles and New York, and your taxpayer dollars are best spent over to a foreign country. I'm glad this tweet's going viral. Once again, folks, I did the math. At least 100,000 restaurants were closed in America due to lockdown restrictions. America sent over $15 billion to Ukraine over the past few years. They could have given 150,000 to 100,000 restaurants to reopen. Once again, workers lost $3.7 trillion during the pandemic, but wow, the world's billionaires just became 5 trillion richer. I mean, you got to be some sort of a fool. I don't know. I said it on my Twitter account, but I'm like, either you're foolish, weak, naive, dumb. I don't think everybody's dumb. I don't think I'm so smart everyone's dumb. I think it's a lot of foolishness, a lot of naivety, being naive. There are a lot of weak people because the media is saying if you're weak, it's good. If you're strong, you're bad. It's like, listen, you should be nice to everybody, but it's not good to be like 700 pounds overweight with 3 vaccines. That doesn't make you healthier than like a bodybuilder, but whatever. And being a bodybuilder doesn't necessarily mean you're healthy. A lot of them have health issues too, but to make a long story short, I'm not going to run this one too much because I want to keep it short so it's shareable. This is my story of the day, folks. I just figured I'd do it in a live stream format because I could. Over $15 billion sent to Ukraine over the last couple of years, $13.6 billion recently, $800 million, $1 billion. It's all adding up, but if you take it to the $2+ billion that they've given since 2014, it's well over $15 billion that they've sent to Ukraine. I mean, they've sent trillions all over the country. It's not just Ukraine. I just want to make an example of how much they have people under a spell. Seriously, once again, there's a war in another country in Ethiopia that nobody even knows about. What? And people are getting mad when you bring it up. It's like, do you even care about this Ethiopian? Of course you don't. Why? Because the media didn't tell people. They control the minds of the masses. They tell you what to think, when to be outraged. Hypothetically, I'm not saying literally, but hypothetically, there could be a genocide where tens of millions of people were starving, and the media could literally convince you to be on the side of the genociders based off of one fake picture, one story that isn't real, every major corporation playing a line, all of the major social media sites censoring the truth. Now they're saying in mainstream reports, apparently New York Times has admitted that the Hunter Biden laptop situation, apparently they're talking about it today. They tell you it's Russian propaganda, Trump propaganda. They punish social media accounts, ban you off of social media. And then a year later, they admit that they're fraudulent and they're lying. And they're like, oh, well, we just made a mistake. They're not making a mistake. Censorship should have never been normalized in America. Kids growing up nowadays, they don't even realize that censorship is not normal. Like when I grew up, there's no such thing as censorship. Nobody was getting kicked off the internet, not far left, not far right, not the unfavorable characters. We just debated them and nobody liked certain people, but you had the American ability to read their literature, to listen to their speeches and make a decision for yourself. And, some things were popular for the right reasons. But now censorship's been so normalized, they went from Alex Jones to censoring grandmas, tens of millions of people. I mean, I don't know very many people who haven't been censored or shadow banned in some sort of way. Half the country's been censored. This isn't normal. Our country's turning into authoritarianism. I'm not telling you. I don't care if you like Russia or Ukraine. I don't care if you like Zimbabwe, Ethiopia, you love Italy, you love Israel, you love Palestine. I don't really care who you love and who you don't love. You should love everybody. But in general, I'm just letting people know, if you support this wicked system in this country that is debanking people, kicking them out of jobs, firing millions of nurses, getting rid of our own military members and police officers because they won't inject Pfizer, if you're supporting this wicked system because some degenerate on Fox News lied to you that's not Tucker Carlson, or some snake like Dan Crenshaw posts a bunch of fake stories and says, oh, propaganda can only be on one side, only the Russians push propaganda. It's like, that's how you know you're a liar. I'm going to tell you the truth. Republicans can push propaganda, they do. Liberals can push propaganda, they do. Russians can push propaganda, they do. Ukrainians can push propaganda, they do. There's no such thing as, oh, my side is perfect and we could never lie. That's how you know Dan Crenshaw's a liar. Go to his Twitter. Snake Island goes to Kyiv. I mean, he pushed like multiple hoaxes in one tweet. It's still up. And the fraud refuses to correct himself because he's Adam Kinzinger and Mitt Romney pretending like he's your best friend in Texas. The dude is a total snake. No wonder why he likes the Snake Island story. Maybe that's where him and his friends are, on the island where he belongs. But in general, God bless the guy. But anybody that's telling you that propaganda can only be found on one side is probably lying to you. That would be like me saying Republicans have never pushed propaganda. It's like, what? Are you brain dead? They've probably pushed propaganda yesterday, let alone every day. So, that's the story of the day, folks. I believe they're conditioning people to support the wicked system in America that's swallowing them up alive. And all I'm saying is I think it's time that we take care of ourselves. Watching them con people with COVID, with Russia, Ukraine, programming, black squares. When they did the George Floyd black square, why don't you Google how much money went to Act Blue? Act Blue is a fund, or Act Blue, I believe, is like the merchant site where a bunch of progressives and left-wing causes raise money through Act Blue. Hundreds of millions of dollars flowed through Act Blue with the George Floyd. I'm not saying that they caused it, but they definitely utilized that crisis to raise a bunch of money, and people got brainwashed into caring. People screamed at me for not even saying anything crazy because they're like programmed like wind-up dolls for 2 weeks, and then they go to the next thing, and then they go to the next thing. They're not even aware of certain things in other countries. And I'm not saying you have to be. I'm not saying you have to care about Ethiopia every second and worry about the whole world. There's always going to be something to worry about. I'm not saying it's all your problem, but this idea that everybody organically and naturally supported a country, the reason they programmed you to support that country is because they have financial interests there, they have military interests there, and if 20 million people died in an African country where they don't have military bases or they don't have any financial or political gain, they will cover it up, censor you for talking about it, ignore it, and act like you're a lunatic. So this idea that everybody's just naturally supporting a foreign country that they know nothing about 3 weeks ago, it's not natural, it's not normal. The media controls the minds of the masses, and whether you support them or not, I'm tired of my taxpayer dollars going everywhere else. This is the big circus. Trump gets in office, he's fighting the deep state, he prints $6 trillion. He does exactly what the banks want, he does exactly what Big Pharma wants. He's just slightly a resistance, but he caves on every major issue. He prints all the money. Biden prints the money. They printed over $10 trillion in the last couple years. This is unfathomable amount of money. $15 billion to Ukraine could give 150,000 to 100,000 restaurants. Do you know how much trillions of dollars could do? It's like literally unfathomable amounts of money that they're just printing, sending all over the place, sending to corporations, paying off their friends, contracting their buddies, sending overseas. Our whole Congress is like a Ponzi scheme. I mean, that would be a nice way to put it. It's probably just like a thievery scheme. They steal your money. They brainwash you with mass media. They get you to literally support whatever they want based on racial or political things that, know how to wind you up like a wind-up doll, and get you to want to funnel your money to a foreign country or a cause that you didn't even know about 2 weeks ago. And that's all it is, left to right, Republican to Democrat. It's like this giant theft scheme. They steal your money via taxes. They waste it. They mismanage it. They start wars. They lie about it. They call the truth propaganda. It's COVID propaganda. It's Russian propaganda. It's Trump propaganda. You're a Chinese propaganda. It's like they have a name for everything. It's like, why not just address what we're saying? It's true or it's false. It's right or it's wrong. But our media and our politicians are trying to fight Russia by being crazy liars. It's like, if you want to be more honest than Putin and Russia, it's possible. I think I'm more honest than Putin and Russia. I just tell the truth. I don't try to just cover everything up all the time and say Hunter Biden's laptop is Russian propaganda. That's BS. Everything they do is a lie. Our country's disgusting, degenerate, immoral, and it's sad to say this, but we're making foreign countries that aren't honest look way more honest than us. By default, you just shut your mouth for 2 hours. You're more honest than most people in American media. We are horrible. And I'm trying to make it better. I'm not just trying to complain about my country. I make media. I'll tell you the truth. Left-wingers lie, right-wingers lie, Republicans lie, Democrats lie. Russia lies, Ukraine lies. I'm not going to sit up here like Dan Crenshaw, the sneaky snake, and say, oh, everything's Russian propaganda. Durr, I'm Adam Kinzinger, pretending to be a cowboy. It's like, no, dude. It's like Ukraine not only could lie, they have lied multiple times. And it's okay to think, let's not fund our 12th war in freaking 20 years or how many it is. It's like that money could be used at home. They're taking our money, using it all over the place. And that's why you have politicians that look like this, folks. That's why you're being run by people that look like this, okay? Our country is being run by geriatric psychopaths. You're going to need more than a Ukraine flag in your bio. This is what it looks like, folks.
Putin is trying to.
These are the people stealing your money,
bait
folks.
the trap so that
these are the people that are wasting trillions of dollars. You're letting
weapons that are not allowed under the Geneva Convention. Putin, who.
That's why they look like Pelosi and Biden, because to be that soulless, to be that dishonest, you have to just look like that and stutter. I mean, a normal moral person wouldn't rise to the ranks that they're at. They wouldn't be allowed to sell their soul that much. That's why these people are like falling apart. They can't speak, you know? And I'm supposed to believe that these are the good guys? Oh yeah, anomaly, it's a Putin propaganda. You should just be poor. You know, George Takei says, oh, just struggle. And Betty Midler wants to, you know, we're struggling for Putin. You guys have a net worth of millions of dollars. Yeah, maybe if I was in, you know, what's that witch movie, the Halloween movie? Maybe if I was in the Halloween movie and I had a couple million in the bank, you know, 10, I don't know how much you have. I'm not getting into your finances, but maybe I'd feel the same way. It's like, yeah, let's get poor for Putin. But yeah, a lot of us don't have that type of stability and money. So we're not trying to just like, you know, go into hyperinflation and poverty to fight a war that could have been avoided in 30 different ways, but none of you want to admit how it really happened. So yeah, I don't know. I don't want to get poor to fight Putin. I don't think that's really a good strategy. In Russia, Putin's talking about doing this for people, doing this for people. You know, he understands that he's being sanctioned and he's like, listen, I'm going to try to, it's going to be rough, but we're going to get through it. And I'm not saying that America's not doing certain things, but the messaging I'm hearing from a lot of celebrities isn't like, yeah, I get this is really tough if you're broke. It's like, oh, this is a small price to pay to fight the Kremlin. Like, these people are so out of touch. It's insane. It's like, what about looking inward and being like, hey, if we're going to give $15 billion to Ukraine, we're also going to give $15 billion to give $150,000 to all of the restaurants we destroyed, and then we're going to let them recreate their... They don't give a crap about you. They don't give a crap about your restaurant. I mean, what part of kicking you out of the military for not getting a Pfizer mRNA shot with no long-term trials did people not understand about how evil these people are? What part about kicking hundreds of thousands of nurses, police officers, you know, everyday workers, millions? What part of kicking you out of society for refusing once again to get 2 or 3 shots that have no long-term trials admitted? You are the long-term trial. I'm sure it will be fine, but at the same time, you know, that's on you. It's like 5 years down the road. There are no trials 5 years down the road. We are the trials. So anything that happens, by the way, they're not going to tell the truth about it. You think these are truth tellers? Oh, we're fighting misinformation. BS. I played a clip of, you know, Stephen A. Smith saying that over 6 billion people in the world got the vaccine on CNN. That's a lie. That's not even close to that number. He's like more than 1 billion off of the real number, but he's allowed to lie and push misinformation on CNN, and they don't fact check him. Do you know why? Because they don't give a crap about misinformation. What they're trying to do is mold the narrative, create a story, push propaganda, and if it goes in favor of Big Pharma, if Rachel Maddow's on television lying for Big Pharma, it's okay. If CDC's Rochelle Walensky is pushing bad data to push the vaccine and make people comfortable with it, it's okay. She says in hindsight, oh, I just got excited. What are you, a cheerleader for Pfizer? You're not supposed to get excited. You're supposed to look at the numbers and be honest about how ready they are. Now their numbers are in with the real studies, and they're not even trying to release those studies because they're afraid that if people see the real numbers, they're going to misinterpret the data. All that means is they're going to take a few months, try to repackage it to make it say what they want it to say, and if they can't, they'll probably hide it forever because it's not what they said it was. It never was. And this is how these people operate. So you guys know. This idea that this censorship and we need to go fight a war and anybody who disagrees, these are the same people copy paste. Black square, copy paste. 6 feet to slow the spread, copy paste. I wear a mask because I'm a Democrat, copy paste. Ukraine flag in the bio, copy paste. Except this one has a few more Republicans on their side because Fox News has turned into a total, you know, war propaganda network outside of a few winners on there like Tucker. So that's what we're dealing with, folks. But as an American citizen, I am tired of the scheme of paying tax dollars, sending it all overseas. When are we going to realize with like 1/8 of all this money they're doling all over the place, they could do so much here, so much here. But they never do, because as long as you fight Republicans, you fight Democrats, you fight COVID, you fight Putin, as long as they just string you along like a carrot in front of your face, you know, nobody's ever going to realize that we're constantly, as Americans, getting the short end of the stick, and they're doing stuff for Ukrainians, for extremist groups in Ukraine, that they wouldn't do 1/50th of here. It's like America last. Who doesn't get more priority in some sort of way than America? It's ridiculous. God bless you guys. God bless your family. God bless America. God bless the world. Have a beautiful day. And enjoy the show, folks. The actor producer will continue to beg for a no-fly zone, doing symbolism straight out of 1984. This is what it looks like, folks, when your Congress is doling billions of dollars that they stole from you through the taxation system and giving it to an actor producer in a foreign country so they can fight a proxy war, half-assed, by the way. They're not giving them a no-fly zone. They're not giving them all our weapons. They're giving them less than like 1%, 5% of our firepower. What are they doing? Either go 100% and really fight a war. I don't want them to, by the way. I'm not trying to start World War III. I'm just saying, what is this little fake war? It's like doing a slap fight, and you both got guns in your pockets. You know what I'm saying? What's the point? Literally, this is what this is equivalent of. It's like you both have freaking rocket launchers in the back shed, but you're sitting there slapping each other for hours. That's what it's almost like they want this war to continue. Putin has made his move, okay? He's on the ground. He has an operation. He says if you take another step, he's really going at it. The dude's not playing, okay? Look at his last speech. He said, I have it all figured out. We've planned everything. So if you overstep, we have a plan for that. And guess what America's doing? They're not overstepping. They're saying, we're just going to do little slap fights. What are you going to drag this out for 2 years? Either make a move or don't make a move. We're not making a move. We're just dragging this out. Zelensky is the new Dr. Fauci. How long can we drag this out before really coming to a conclusion? I'm not saying that the war's not real. It is. I'm just saying that we're not even doing 1% of what we could be doing. So what's the point? We're just dragging this out, wasting money, and just like Afghanistan and Iraq, when it's all said and done, there's going to be trillions. A trillion is 1,000 billion. A billion is 1,000 million. I say this not to be like, people are like, what is anomaly dumb? I just want people to process how much money this is. $1 million. It's a lot of money. $1 billion is 1,000 millions. $1 trillion is 1,000 billions. And they're giving trillions of dollars every year all over the place, and no one realizes it because the media doesn't talk about it. The media will act like George Floyd is the biggest story on earth and erect 70 statues and spend $5 trillion as 100,000 people die in a foreign country, and there's black people getting killed every day in Chicago, every week in Chicago. You got people dying of heart disease, millions of kids dying of fentanyl and opioids, but that's not a glorious enough story because it's a story that makes them look complicit. Well, yeah, we're paid off by big pharma and they're the ones killing people with the opioids by a mistake, so why talk about that? Let's pick a story that doesn't have to do with us, that we can raise money off of, that is a really heartstring story. I'm not saying it wasn't a real story, but I would say it was misreported gravely the entire time. But in general, it's like this is all they'll do. They could make that last a month. Meanwhile, they're taking trillions of dollars and no one's noticing because the media's in on it, They don't want to tell this story. That's a pretty good tale. Isn't that a good tale? If you made a bank heist, this guy stole $1,000 from a bank, you can make a whole Leonardo DiCaprio movie about it. What about if somebody was taking trillions of dollars and mismanaging that every year? That's not a story? Of course it is. It's the biggest story in the world, but that's not something that they want to cover. God bless you guys. God bless your family. Have a good St. Patty's Day. Enjoy yourself if you're doing something. If you're not, enjoy yourself anyway. Keeping this somewhat brief, share this if you would like, let people know the math, and feel free to fact check me on the math. But with all of this money that we're sending there, we could help a lot of U.S. businesses. That's my opinion. Let me know yours.